is the kind of thing that makes people hate to fly. The airlines now want to charge you $25 if you want to sit next to your child on a flight. You see this? Like, if you're on a crowded flight, they can't guarantee seat assignments, but for an additional $25, you might be able to sit next to your child. You know, how about this? How about an extra $25 for a sober pilot? I would pay for that. Or an air traffic controller stays away. Or a TSA agent that doesn't grab you. I'd pay for that. Yeah.
Or the better joke might have been, how about to not pay to sit with your kids?
Right, pay $25 to sit with somebody else. Right, that's another option. But you may not be laughing when you hear about these policy changes, because if you're flying somewhere this summer with your family, prepare to spend more money to sit with your kids and to pre-board with your kids.
Yeah, there's a new caveat as well. Joining us now is Kate Hanni. She's of flyersrights.org, and she joins us to talk about this. When you heard this this week, Kate, what was your response?
Well, nice way to tear families apart when they fly, especially if you're headed to Disney. Can you imagine having your 2-year-old in a middle seat in a different row than you are?
It's crazy. And so let's just explain to people why it costs more. Basically, the airlines are now going to charge you a premium if you want to have a window or an aisle seat. So families who can't afford to pay more may have to all split up and be scattered around the airplane. How is that going to work? Have the airlines thought through this, that a child will be many rows away from their parents?
I don't think they thought through it at all. In fact, what they're actually doing, in addition to charging more, is they're withholding the ability to book some of those aisle and window seats for their frequent flyers and their business travelers. And then only 5 days before the flight, they start releasing some of those seats for the regular traveler that doesn't have a lot of frequent flyer miles or that doesn't travel with that airline regularly. So it's a very anti-family provision, and I think it's going to backfire. I think if I were seated next to someone else's 2-year-old and the parent wasn't there to help that child, it would be a very awkward experience, not only for the family not sitting together, but for the people sitting next to them.
Can you imagine? I mean, I'm just picturing this happening. My 2-year-old son, I'm like, sorry, son, I'll see you 4 hours later. You're going to be sitting next to Kate here on the flight. I'll
Here's
see
your
you
bottle.
Later. Right, here's a bottle. I hope you
bottle.
can handle it. I mean, it seems absolutely absurd.
It is absolutely absurd. And the other thing is, when you're boarding, imagine not only being the family trying to negotiate getting on the plane at the same time as other passengers with an infant seat, and trying to get that infant seat into a middle seat that might be aft facing and buckle the kid in, and then you have to sit in a different row. And I can imagine the gridlock that's going to happen inside planes with that provision. So it's a twofer. We had two anti-family provisions in 1 week.
Right. The second one that you're referring to is the pre-boarding status, that the airlines are changing the long-held practice of families being able to pre-board. Now the airlines are reserving that just for their sort of premium members, their frequent flyers. Here's what United Airlines had to say about that. Our practice of calling families early who did not have elite boarding status caused more confusion than less. We made this change to simplify the boarding process, and we found that it is working according to plan. Your response?
My response is that's bogus. I mean, if anybody who has small children and all the accoutrements that go along with having small children knows that it takes extra time to get settled, to get everything in the overhead bins, get your child all the things they're going to need to settle them down during the flight. It's a process. And you know, most other air carriers, thank goodness, have not, you know, made such an anti-family provision, but it's ridiculous. I think we're going to see sheer gridlock inside airplanes now.
Yeah, maybe they're looking at their bottom line saying, you know what, it makes more sense for us to cater to our business customers who we see day in and day out than the family whom we see maybe once a year on a Disney trip.
Right. Kate Hanni, thanks so much for coming in with your perspective on this. You're from flyersrights.org.
Thanks,
We need
Kate.
them.
Go to